There are seasons in your life when it feels as though nothing is moving, nothing is shifting, and nothing is changing. You pray, and the heavens seem quiet. You step forward in faith, and circumstances appear unmoved. You look at your life, and you wonder, Lord, when will something finally break open for me? But what you must understand is that God does not operate on the surface level of your experiences. He operates behind the scenes in the invisible realm, where his hand is always working, shaping, arranging, and orchestrating your break, through long before it ever becomes visible to you. Victory does not begin the day you see it. Victory begins the day God spoke it into existence. You are only waiting for the manifestation, but heaven has already finished the preparation. God prepares your victory in a way that is often hidden from human eyes. You may look at your circumstances today and think that everything is against you, but you are only seeing one side of the story. Behind the curtain, God is positioning people, shifting environments, and aligning time itself to prepare a massive win for your life. Every disappointment you experienced had a divine purpose. Every door that closed was not a rejection, it was protection. God was not withholding something from you. He was preparing something greater for you. You were praying for survival, but God was planning elevation. You were asking for an answer, but God was preparing a destiny. You were seeking comfort, but God was building capacity. God cannot give you a small victory because His glory is too great to be revealed in smallness. So He takes His time preparing something that will not only bless you, but also reveal His power to others through you. Sometimes the greatest victories take time because God is preparing you internally as much as He is preparing the break through externally. A massive blessing requires a mature spirit. An extraordinary win demands a strengthened heart. God cannot pour great favor into a fearful heart, a doubtful mind, or a weary soul. So while He is preparing the blessing, He is also preparing you. He stretches you through trials. He strengthens you through challenges. He humbles you through delays. He deepens your faith through silence. Every season that felt empty was actually full of purpose. Every moment that felt wasted was actually invested. God was not ignoring you. He was training you. He was shaping your character to carry the victory He has already prepared. Your victory is not waiting for more time. It is waiting for your readiness. And readiness is a work God completes slowly, intentionally, and strategically. Think about the times when you thought something was a setback, but later you realized it was a setup. Think about the jobs you lost, the friendships that ended, the opportunities that didn't work out. At that time, it felt painful, disappointing, confusing, even unfair. But today, when you look back, you understand that if those things had stayed, the blessing God has prepared could not have arrived. God removes what does not align with His plan so that He can make room for what does. The pruning felt like loss, but it was preparing the branches for fruitfulness. The problem we often face is not that God is slow. The problem is that we cannot see what He sees. We live in the present moment, but God stands outside of time. He sees the end from the beginning, the victory before the battle, the harvest before the seed, the breakthrough before the struggle. When He prepares a victory for you, He does it with the full picture in mind. He knows the exact timing that will maximize the blessing. If the victory came too early, it would not sustain you. If it came too late, you might lose hope. So He prepares the moment and the miracle simultaneously. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted, nothing is accidental. Every detail is divinely planned so that when the blessing arrives, it carries a weight of glory that will leave you speechless. There are divine alignments happening right now that you don't even know about. People who have never met you are being influenced by God to favor you. Decisions that haven't been announced yet are going to open doors for you. Opportunities that seem impossible today will suddenly become accessible. Why? Because the preparation has already begun. There are resources with your name on them. There are promotions already marked for you. There are ideas, contracts, connections, and open doors being arranged in your favor. This is why God tells you to trust Him even when nothing seems to be happening. What you call nothing is actually God's preparation room. What feels like stillness is God setting the stage. What feels like delay is God refining the victory, so that when it shows up, it comes in a way that overwhelms you with His goodness. You may be wondering why God takes His time preparing certain victories. The reason is simple. Massive wins require massive preparation. God is not preparing a small answer for you. He is preparing a significant breakthrough. The kind of breakthrough that changes your life, shifts your mindset, elevates your position, and multiplies your influence. The kind of win that silences your doubts, confuses your enemies, and glorifies God. The kind of win that makes people say, "I don't know how this happened, but it had to be God." That kind of victory cannot be rushed. It must be constructed with precision, power, and perfect timing. Every time you felt forgotten, God was working. Every time you cried in prayer, God was listening. Every time you felt lost, God was guiding. Every time you were disappointed, God was redirecting. Heaven has been active even when earth felt silent. God has been preparing your victory from the moment He placed the promise in your spirit. You didn't imagine the breakthrough, God planted it. You didn't invent the desire, God birthed it. You didn't create the vision, God revealed it. And if God planted it, He will prepare it. If God revealed it, He will fulfill it. If God promised it, He will perform it. Your victory is not coming. It has already been prepared. God is simply preparing you to step into it. There is a divine order in the way God releases blessings, and nothing in His kingdom is random. Every major breakthrough, every supernatural turnaround, every massive win follows a spiritual pattern. God does not release greatness into chaos. He releases greatness into alignment. For many people, the blessing has already been prepared, the breakthrough has already been arranged, the opportunity has already been written in heaven, but it cannot land until the heart, the mind, and the spirit are aligned with God's will. A great victory is not only about what God is doing, it is also about who you are becoming. Before God elevates you outwardly, He aligns you inwardly. Spiritual alignment begins in the unseen spaces of your life. It begins in your thoughts, your decisions, your posture, and your private disciplines. When God is preparing to drop a massive win into your life, He first begins to fine-tune your inner world. He speaks to your spirit, nudging you to pray more, to detach from distractions, to purify your motives, and to deepen your trust. Many people think God is delaying their blessing, but in reality, He is aligning them for it. Blessings that are meant to elevate you cannot be carried by a heart full of fear, doubt, bitterness, or confusion. So God patiently works on the inside of you, because He knows the moment your spirit is aligned, the blessing will be released without resistance. Consider how often God shifts things in your spirit before He shifts anything in your circumstances. You may feel a pull to isolate for a season, not because anything is wrong, but because God is whispering to your soul, preparing you to operate at a higher level. You may suddenly lose interest in conversations that drain your energy or relationships that dilute your focus. You may begin to sense a divine dissatisfaction, a holy restlessness, a stirring that tells you there is more. This is spiritual alignment. God is separating you from what cannot follow you into your next season, so you can walk into the victory He has designed for you. He is clearing away noise, so you can hear His instructions. He is tuning your spirit to the frequency of heaven. Many people pray for big blessings, but are not spiritually positioned to manage them. A massive win demands maturity. It demands obedience. It demands clarity. God will never give you what your spirit is not prepared to sustain. A blessing out of alignment becomes a burden. This is why God develops your spiritual sensitivity before He releases significant favor. He trains your ears to hear Him. He strengthens your capacity to follow His leading. He develops your discernment so you can recognize opportunities that are from Him and reject opportunities that are distractions. Spiritual alignment opens your eyes to see what God is doing when others only see what is happening. Alignment is also about trust. Before God releases a massive win, He often takes you through seasons that require total dependence on Him. It is in these moments that you learn to walk by faith, even when the path is unclear. You learn to trust His timing, even when your heart is impatient. You learn to rely on His voice, even when circumstances contradict His promise. These seasons are not designed to frustrate you. They are designed to prepare you. God is aligning your heart with His timing. When your spirit learns to trust Him without seeing anything, you become qualified to receive everything. Another key dimension of spiritual alignment is obedience. God will often test your willingness to obey small instructions before He releases big victories. It may be a prompting to forgive someone so your heart can be free. It may be a nudge to take a step of faith when you don't feel ready. It may be a call to serve, to sow, to pray, to release, or to shift your environment. These instructions may seem simple, but they unlock spiritual alignment. When you obey, you reposition your life under the flow of God's favor. Breakthrough responds to obedience. The more aligned your actions are with God's direction, the faster the blessing manifests. Prayer is another powerful element of alignment. Prayer is not just communication, it is calibration. Every time you pray, your spirit aligns with God's perspective. Prayer shifts your focus from the problem to the promise. Prayer transforms your anxiety into expectation. Prayer strengthens you to stand firm while God is working behind the scenes. The reason the enemy tries to weaken your prayer life is because he knows that a praying believer is a spiritually aligned believer, and a spiritually aligned believer is unstoppable. When your spirit is aligned through prayer, fear loses its voice, doubt loses its power, and discouragement loses its influence. Purity is also essential to alignment. God cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. When He is preparing a massive win for you, He calls you higher. He removes habits, relationships, and environments that contaminate your spirit. He leads you away from shortcuts, temptations, and compromises. Not because He wants your life to be restricted, but because He wants your blessing to be protected. Purity clears the spiritual atmosphere around you so God's favor can flow without interruption. Faith is the final component of alignment. Faith is the bridge that connects preparation to manifestation. Faith is not just believing God can do it, it is aligning your entire life with the expectation that He will. Faith is when your thoughts, your words, your decisions, and your posture reflect the certainty that a massive win is on the way. Faith positions you under the outpouring of God's power. When you carry faith, heaven responds. Spiritual alignment is not a punishment, it is a privilege. It is God preparing you to carry something greater than you have ever imagined. Before the breakthrough appears, alignment forms the person who will walk in it. Your prayer life, your obedience, your purity, your trust, your faith, these are not religious tasks, they are spiritual foundations. The moment your spirit comes into alignment, the massive win that has been prepared for you will descend without delay. There are moments in life when you look at the battles you are facing and wonder why God allowed them. You ask yourself why certain struggles appeared just when you were trying to move forward. You question why opposition rose up when your heart was finally ready to pursue purpose. You wonder why enemies suddenly stood against you when all you wanted was peace. What you may not realize is that the battles you are facing are not signs of God's absence. They are indicators of His preparation. When God is about to release a massive win into your life, He often allows a battle to rise first, not to break you, but to build you, and ultimately to reveal His glory through you. Your battles are not punishment, they are placement. They position you exactly where God wants to reveal His power. When you feel surrounded by challenges, heaven is preparing to surround your challenges with divine intervention. Every battle becomes a stage on which God plans to display His greatness. Your enemies think they have gathered to destroy you, but heaven sees them as the audience that will witness your victory. The very circumstance that was meant to crush you becomes the platform God uses to elevate you. You are not fighting for survival, you are fighting for a testimony. This is why your greatest battles often come right before your strongest breakthroughs. The enemy does not attack what is insignificant. He does not waste time on what has no future. The battles you face are evidence that something valuable is inside you, something heaven has endorsed and hell fears. When the enemy senses that God is preparing to lift you, he launches attacks to intimidate you, discourage you, or distract you. But what he intends as destruction, God transforms into demonstration. God uses the pressure to refine you. He uses the wounds to strengthen you. He uses the opposition to propel you. Without the battle, the victory could not shine as brightly. There are times when God allows you to enter a battle that looks impossible because He wants to make the outcome undeniable. If the battle were easy, people might credit your strength, your skills, or your resources. But when the situation seems utterly beyond your ability, when the odds are stacked against you, when your own efforts are not enough, that is when God steps into the scene and shows that the battle was never yours to begin with. He allows you to reach the end of your strength so you can step into the beginning of His. The testimony becomes clear. You didn't win because of your power, you won because of His. God does not remove your battles, He uses them. He uses them to stretch your faith, to deepen your dependence, to sharpen your discernment, to strengthen your courage. You cannot develop spiritual strength in seasons of comfort. Muscles grow through resistance, and so does faith. Every battle you have faced has been strengthening a deeper part of you, your character, your endurance, your authority. What felt like an attack was actually training. What felt like an obstacle was actually preparation. God was building the capacity in you to carry the victory that is coming. Your battles also reveal who truly belongs in your life. When you face pressure, you discover the loyalty of people around you. Some walk away, some betray, some criticize, and some remain. God uses battles to separate destiny partners from temporary companions. He exposes what is unstable so that what remains is pure, solid, and trustworthy. People who cannot stand with you in battle cannot celebrate with you in victory. The battle reveals what relationships can walk with you into the next season of your life. Another powerful truth is that battles push you into divine strategy. When you face something overwhelming, you begin to seek God more deeply. You listen more carefully. You pray more passionately. You lean into His presence more consistently. Your desperation becomes a doorway to revelation. Through your battles, God teaches you how to hear His voice, how to follow His leading, how to depend on His wisdom instead of your own understanding. The strategy you discover in the middle of a storm becomes the wisdom that guides you long after the battle has ended. Every battle also expands your territory. When you defeat a giant, you gain authority in the area that giant once controlled. What once frightened you begins to submit to your voice. The very thing that used to intimidate you becomes the place where God gives you dominion. Your confidence grows. Your spiritual authority increases. You begin to walk with a boldness that can only come from someone who has seen God move in impossible situations. This authority becomes part of your destiny, part of your calling, part of your spiritual identity. You must also understand that battles attract divine attention. When heaven sees you standing firm in the face of adversity, refusing to give up, refusing to bow, refusing to doubt, God responds. He sends angels, He releases strength, He dispatches provision, He opens doors that your battle could not close. You may feel weak during the fight, but God sees you as victorious. He sees you holding on to faith when everything around you is shaking. He sees you praising through pain. He sees you trusting through tears, and He honors that kind of faith by turning the very battle meant to destroy you into the moment that defines you. The outcome of your battle is already determined. God is not improvising. He is not guessing. He is not uncertain. He allowed the battle because He already prepared the victory. He let the enemy come close because He already planned how to defeat him in front of you. He permitted the storm because He already ordained your breakthrough on the other side. Every battle you are fighting has a divine expiration date. It cannot last longer than God has allowed. It cannot take more from you than God has given. It cannot stop the blessing that is on the way. Your battle is not evidence that God has forgotten you. It is proof that heaven is preparing to reveal something through you. The battle is a stage. You are the vessel. God is the author of the victory. The moment will come when the struggle that once terrified you becomes the testimony that strengthens others. The situation that once brought you to your knees will become the story that lifts someone else. The battle you are facing today is becoming the platform that will display God's glory in your life. There comes a moment in every destiny when God begins to move in ways that surpass every expectation, every limitation, and every natural possibility. It is the moment when heaven decides that the waiting season has accomplished its purpose, that the preparation is complete, and that it is time for divine acceleration. When God is ready to release a massive win into your life, one of the first signs is that unexpected doors begin to open. Doors you didn't knock on, doors you didn't qualify for, doors you didn't even know existed. These doors are not the result of human favor. They are the result of divine intervention. Unexpected doors are God's way of reminding you that He is not limited by your connections, your background, your experience, or your circumstances. You may feel overlooked by people, but you are never overlooked by God. You may feel invisible in the world, but heaven has been watching your faithfulness. You may feel as though nothing has been moving, yet suddenly God begins to orchestrate opportunities that appear out of nowhere. This is how He works. Quietly, invisibly, and then suddenly. God does not need permission from anyone to lift you. When He decides to open a door, no person, no system, no enemy, and no circumstance can close it. Many times, the doors God opens do not look like what you expected. They may come disguised as a conversation, a small assignment, a random encounter, an unexpected message, or a change in environment. This is why you must stay spiritually awake. God does not always send blessings wrapped in the packaging you are anticipating. A massive win can begin with something that appears ordinary. What seems small in the beginning is often the doorway to something extraordinary. God hides greatness in unexpected places because He wants your spirit, not your senses, to recognize it. When God begins to open doors unexpectedly, it is because He is preparing to elevate you to a level you didn't even dream of. You thought God would simply answer your prayer, but instead He is about to exceed it. You were asking for enough to survive, but God is positioning you to thrive. You were asking for one step forward, but God is preparing to launch you several levels ahead. His doors do not fit into human logic. They are supernatural extensions of His grace, designed to take you where your own abilities could never carry you. These unexpected doors also reveal the favor of God over your life. Favor is a divine endorsement. It is when God whispers your name into places you have never entered. It is when He places your face, your gifts, and your purpose in the minds of people who have the authority to bless you. Favor is when someone speaks on your behalf without you being present. Favor is when a room you have never walked into begins to prepare for your arrival. Favor is when God arranges connections that will accelerate your assignment. And when God decides to release favor, unexpected doors become the evidence. Sometimes, the door God opens for you is connected to a person you least expect. You may meet someone briefly, and they become the key to a breakthrough you have been praying for. Someone you thought had no significance in your journey becomes the bridge to your next season. God loves to use unlikely people to accomplish His will because it reminds you that your destiny is not in human hands. It is in His. No one can block what God has ordained, but God can use anyone to unlock what He has promised. Unexpected doors often open at the most unlikely times, not when you feel strong, but when you feel weak. Not when you feel ready, but when you feel unqualified. Not when you are at your highest, but when you are at your lowest. God does this to make one thing clear. The opportunity is not the result of your strength, but His sovereignty. The blessing is not arriving because of your perfection, but because of His goodness. The breakthrough is not happening because of your ability, but because of His purpose. God uses unexpected timing to remind you that He is the God of divine surprises. Unexpected doors also require courage. When God opens a door suddenly, fear will try to keep you standing on the outside. Your mind will say, "This is too big for me." Your past will say, "You don't deserve this." Your insecurities will say, "What if I fail?" But when God opens a door, you must walk through it boldly. The door did not open because you were ready. It opened because God is ready. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to trust God above the fear. The door may feel intimidating, but on the other side of it is the fulfillment of what you have been praying for. Another truth about unexpected doors is that they often come with opposition. Whenever God opens a door, the enemy attempts to distract you, discourage you, or delay you. He knows that once you walk through this door, your life will shift permanently. So he tries to plant doubt, confusion, or exhaustion. But you must remember, the presence of opposition is proof that the door is divine. If the enemy is fighting you, it is because he sees what is waiting on the other side. Walk through anyway, push forward anyway, trust God anyway. If He opened the door, He will sustain you after you walk through it. You may not see it yet, but the doors have already begun to form. God is aligning people, timing, and details behind the scenes. He is preparing conversations that haven't happened yet. He is stirring hearts that don't even know your name yet. He is setting in motion opportunities that will appear suddenly, beautifully, and undeniably. You are closer than you think. The silence has been preparation. The waiting has been positioning. And now, the season of unexpected doors is approaching. There will be a moment when everything shifts, and you will realize that what seemed random was actually divine. What seemed ordinary was supernatural. What seemed delayed was perfectly timed. God is preparing to open doors that will change your life, expand your influence, restore your hope, and elevate your purpose. These doors will not require explanation. They will speak for themselves. They will carry the signature of heaven. They will open with a force that cannot be resisted. They will lead you into a season you never imagined but always prayed for. Faith is not just a belief, it is a force. It is a spiritual power that reaches into your future, pulls God's promises into your present, and transforms what looks impossible into something inevitable. When God is preparing to release a massive win into your life, He places a demand on your faith. Not because He needs your faith to act, but because your faith positions you to receive what he has already released. Victory is prepared in heaven, but it is activated on earth through the posture of your spirit. What you believe today determines what you step into tomorrow. Your faith is a bridge between where you are and where God is taking you. Without that bridge, the blessing cannot cross into your life. This is why the enemy attacks your faith more than anything else. He is not fighting your finances, your job, your relationships, or your health. He is fighting your faith, because if he can weaken your faith, he can delay your victory. If he can fill your mind with doubt, he can disconnect you from the flow of God's power. If he can silence your faith, he can silence your breakthrough. But when your faith stands firm, even in the face of fear, confusion, or discouragement, nothing in hell can stop what heaven has already spoken over you. Faith today is not about seeing the victory. It is about trusting the one who promised it. Faith believes when nothing makes sense. Faith praises before the miracle happens. Faith stands when everything inside you wants to give up. Faith continues when circumstances scream that you should quit. When God sees this kind of faith, he begins to move in ways that defy natural explanation. Faith creates spiritual momentum. It shifts atmospheres. It opens invisible doors. It attracts divine intervention. Faith is not passive. It is powerful. There are victories in your future that are waiting for your faith to rise. There are blessings hanging in the spiritual realm that will descend the moment your faith aligns with God's promise. There are breakthroughs that will activate the moment you say, "Lord, I believe." Faith is heaven's permission to release what has been prepared for you. It is the spiritual key that unlocks the door God has already built. Without faith, the door remains closed, not because God is unwilling, but because faith is the currency that connects you to the supernatural. Your faith also shapes your words. What you speak in moments of pressure reveals what you truly believe. If your words are filled with fear, negativity, and defeat, you weaken the atmosphere around you. But when your words carry faith, even when your eyes cannot see evidence, you create an environment where miracles become possible. Words are seeds. Every word spoken in faith plants the future you will eventually walk into. Speak faith even when you feel weak. Declare victory even when you feel broken. Call things forth even when they seem far away. Your words today are building the world you will live in tomorrow. Another dimension of faith is persistence. Many people start with faith, but they do not continue with it. They believe for a moment, but when the answer is delayed, their faith diminishes. Persistence is what strengthens your faith muscles. It is what trains your spirit to stay firm even when circumstances don't immediately change. Persistent faith says, even if it takes longer than I expected, God is still faithful. Persistent faith says, even if I don't understand the process, I trust His plan. Persistent faith says, even if everything feels silent, I know He is still working. This kind of faith is unstoppable, and it activates victories that ordinary faith cannot access. Your faith today also influences your decisions. Every act of obedience is an expression of faith. When you obey God's leading, even without understanding the full picture, you step into the divine flow of His blessings. Faith-based actions open doors that prayers alone cannot. When you move with faith, you attract the movement of God. When you take a step toward what He has promised, heaven responds. Faith is not just believing. Faith is walking, acting, aligning, and moving in the direction of the promise. Faith also strengthens your resilience. Life will bring disappointments, delays, and challenges, but faith anchors you so deeply in God's character that the storms cannot uproot you. Faith reminds you that your circumstances are temporary, but God's word is eternal. Faith reminds you that your battles are fierce, but your victory is guaranteed. Faith reminds you that your path is uncertain, but your God is unchanging. Faith is the anchor that keeps you steady until the blessing arrives. There will be moments when your faith feels small, but even a mustard seed is enough for God to work with. Faith is not measured by size, it is measured by sincerity. Even the smallest seed of genuine faith has the power to move mountains because its strength does not come from you. It comes from the God who stands behind it. When you believe, heaven responds. When you trust, God acts. When you have faith, miracles manifest. You may not see the victory today, but your faith is pulling it closer. You may not see the breakthrough yet, but your faith is unlocking the path for it to reach you. You may not see the door open yet, but your faith is turning the handle. What God has prepared for you is not waiting on the right time. It is waiting on the right faith. And as your faith rises, the victory that has been written in heaven will begin to appear on earth. Your faith today is creating the victory you will celebrate tomorrow. When God prepares to release a massive win into your life, He does not do it quietly, lightly, or randomly. He does it with intention, timing, precision, and purpose. This entire journey you have been walking, every test, every delay, every closed door, every moment where you felt unseen or overlooked, was never a sign of abandonment. It was training. It was preparation. It was God shaping your inner world so you could carry the weight of the blessing He is about to place on your shoulders. Heaven has not ignored your prayers. Heaven has not forgotten your sacrifices. Heaven has not dismissed your tears. Everything has been recorded, and none of it has been wasted. A massive win from God is not simply a reward. It is a divine shift. It is the moment when what was once spiritually resisted becomes irresistibly released. It is when God steps into the battlefield of your life and overturns the things that once seemed permanent. The defeat you felt was not the final chapter, but the setup for a supernatural reversal. The impossibility you've been wrestling with is the very ground where God is about to demonstrate His unmatched power. You haven't been losing. You've been building spiritual capacity. And now, heaven is preparing to pour something into your life that matches the strength you developed through the struggle. This win will not look like a small breakthrough or a subtle improvement. It will come with undeniable evidence that the hand of God has moved. It will silence voices of doubt, silence the accusations of the enemy, and silence every internal fear you once carried. This victory will bring clarity to years of confusion, purpose to seasons that felt meaningless, and understanding to questions you thought would never be answered. God is about to reveal why He did not allow certain things to happen earlier. He is about to show you why He held you back, why He closed certain doors, and why He removed some people from your path. What is coming is too large to be shared with the wrong crowd, too sacred to be contaminated, and too powerful to be prematurely released. The massive win that God is preparing will redeem time. It will accelerate what was delayed. It will multiply what the enemy tried to diminish. It will restore what seemed permanently lost, and it will elevate you in ways that cannot be explained by human ability or natural effort. This win will be so transformational that even you will question how such a turnaround was possible. And the answer will be simple. God did it, not luck, not coincidence, not human favor. God Himself stepped in and shifted the entire trajectory of your life. But this win also carries a calling. It is not just a blessing, it is a commissioning. God is giving you a victory that will not end with you. It will flow through you. You will become a witness of His supernatural ability. Your story will become a testimony that ignites faith in others who feel stuck where you once stood. Your breakthrough will become a blueprint for believers who wonder where the heaven still moves. And your transformation will prove that when God decides to bless a person, No force, spiritual or earthly, can prevent it. You have walked through fire, and you are coming out without the smell of smoke. You have faced storms, and they did not drown you. You have endured loss, and yet you did not collapse. You have been stretched, but you have not snapped. These are not the qualities of a defeated person. These are the qualities of someone God has chosen to carry a major victory. Your endurance was evidence of your anointing. Your survival was confirmation of your assignment. And now heaven is preparing to honor the strength you built in secret. Stand still, stay expectant, lift your spirit. The weight you feel right now is not pressure. It is spiritual momentum. Heaven is leaning in your direction. The winds are shifting. The atmosphere around your life is changing. Everything that once resisted you is about to release you. Everything that held you back is about to let you go. Everything that was closed is about to swing wide open. God is getting ready to drop a victory so significant that it will redefine your future, reshape your identity, and restore your joy. This is not just a win, it is the win, the one you have been praying for. The one you have been waiting for. The one that changes everything, and it is closer than you think.